Evening and welcome to the Pmbc meeting for September 14th. We'll start out with well, we don't have a warrant, so we will move on to approval of the minutes from August 24th, which have been revised twice, once by myself and once by Bob. Hopefully people have had a chance to look at them, even though we just did that today. Are there any questions on the minutes?
Nope.
Looks good to me.
Hearing none, is there a motion to approve?
Make a motion to.
Good. All at the same time.
Yep. I'll second the motion.
Okay, all in favor? Bob?
Bob, yes. Bob Only, yes.
Stacy?
Yes. Stacy, yes.
Bartlett?
Bartlett, yes.
And Mike?
Mike Scudetto, yes.
And Steve Moore, yes. Okay, thank you. We'll move over to Shaker Lane. Oh, can you guys see the agenda?
No.
How do I do that?
You have to
Thank
share it again, Steve.
Share screen. Here we go. Shaker Lane update. Any update on that, Brian?
I believe that this one would be for Brian. With Shaker Lane.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yep.
Yeah,
you're right.
we don't have any involvement with it yet, but I know that that might be for Mr. Marks, and the involvement that they're going through with the MSBA.
Yeah, that should actually say owner's rep. And
Yep.
And the senior center should say the CM at risk. So my error there. We'll get an update on that on the next meeting. The library update, Brian.
Sure. I did send out an email today. I've had some conversations with the contractor. You know, we're going on about 5 or 6 months now of procuring the contractor, getting all the submittals approved, and now we're coming down to the wire of the materials actually being received and scheduling on site. I have a verbal that they will have mobilized by the end of the month, and solar panels will be installed up on the roof. I'm narrowing that down in order to get the exact date that they will be there so that we can minimize any impact to the operations of the library. At the same time we're doing that, we're trying to coordinate a local electrician that the town of Littleton works with in order to do some installations for future EV chargers next to the building. So we're working on getting there. His quote there, as well as some of the minor work that's going to need to be done in order to run power out from our electrical room out to where these spots are going to be. So more to come. I'd hope by our next meeting on the 28th, we have a contractor that's been mobilized, and you can actually see the system that's going to be putting up onto the roof. And, you know, with fingers crossed, maybe we're even generating some power out of there. So besides that, regarding the library, we're tying up some loose ends on warranty work. We had some warranty issues with the elevator that was covered under a maintenance warranty. And I've been working with the landscape architect and the library trustees as to the growth on the right side of the building. We're still having issues with the wildflower growth, and we're engaging with the manufacturer of the seed. As it's no fault of the contractor. They've come out and tried to remedy the problem, but we're not getting any growth there. And we're working with the manufacturer as well as the conservation committee on a path forward on getting some, you know, something a little more aesthetically pleasing than weeds growing up on that hill.
So is water an issue? I mean,
no. So what we were told, we followed all the O&M manuals that was given us by the manufacturer. And we were told that it needed a couple growing seasons in order to start germinating. And we gave it the benefit of the doubt. There was some hesitation with what actually was growing, and there really hasn't been much progress since the past growing season. You know, albeit we have been in quite a drought for the past few months. So we've talked with Amy Green at Conservation. We have a plan forward on what she'd like to see be planted there. So we're going back through the landscape architect, who will actually be the same landscape architect from at the senior center. That architect firm engaged with him as well. So he's not going anywhere else soon. So we'll be able to pick his brain to make sure we get some growth on that side of the building.
Brian,
Yes.
just an FYI, the bushes, the arborvitaes that we had planted out behind the house there.
Yep.
Most of them are brown. I don't know
Are they?
whether it's a lack of water or they just didn't take.
Okay. I'll be out there probably next week. And we have a meeting with LLB next week too, as there's still some property line work that's being done regarding the senior center. And I'll make sure that those arborvitaes are either replaced or maybe even relocated, because where we're going to be relocating the property line.
Okay, good. Any other comments?
Yeah, I'd like to ask Brian to talk to some of the library staff. I was talking to Mark Rombacher this morning. He says that the HVAC system is not, the controls are not working. The building heats up, but it's he says that the staff finds that it's a one switch does the whole building, that the room thermostats have no, they don't do anything. So there's a real issue of either design or of training of how to use the system. And
Okay.
Brian, if you could just go in and talk to some of the staff people there about what's going on, I think that would be helpful.
Sure. We've been working, now that they've moved in and they've kind of settled in with the new building, we've been working with the sequence of operations and the way that the building runs. The way that it was designed, it had certain setbacks in it in order to minimize the amount of energy consumption.
Right.
We found that some of it wasn't programmed correctly. Some of it wasn't operating the way that they wanted it to be. So what we have is kind of a wish list on what to do. We've engaged with the BMS, or the building maintenance system, the contractor, in order to probably do some more programming so that the building becomes a little bit more catered to what their schedule is.
Right.
I'm not exactly sure what Mark's saying about one switch controlling the whole building, but I understand what the questions were from the trustees and the staff. I'll follow back up with them too.
Okay.
Brian, I can't remember, but didn't that system have VAV boxes?
It's a VRF system. So
VRF. Okay.
Yep. So variable refrigerant flow, which is
Right.
Fed from the condensers out in the rear of the building. And then there's an ERV, an energy recovery vent that comes from the roof that kind of supplements the fresh air from the outside. And so those are all tied to certain setbacks and based upon the operations of the building. But what we were finding is that some of the small backup boilers were turning on during occupied mode, even when we didn't need them during the summer. Therefore, it was burning gas and burning energy that, ultimately the town didn't want to be paying for and shouldn't be paying for. So we have some scheduling and specific catering that the trustees and staff have drafted, and it's a matter of getting it implemented with the controls contractor.
Well, we had a commissioning agent, didn't we?
That's correct. And the commissioning agent checked the mechanical equipment per the design and the sequence of operations from the engineer.
So it may be a design issue.
It may be that the design wasn't specific to what Littleton Library wanted their building to operate at. It was more of an industry standard.
Okay.
Okay, thank
so you're going to follow through on that.
Definitely. Yeah, I've been working with Wendy and Katrina at the library trustees to try to get this thing wrapped up, as we're just finishing the warranty period of the building. But this ultimately, if it is additional kind of engineering and scheduling, what the town would probably be responsible for is one programmer for a couple hours to go in and set some set points for them.
Right. Okay.
Can I
Thank
ask,
you.
as we prepare for the Shaker Lane, hopefully we can replicate some of the systems or some of the methodologies that you guys use for energy efficiency. Is there anything that you have learned from kind of going through the process now that the library's open that I can be aware of in regards to just any hiccups that you're running into post-construction?
Yeah, my main thing, and I think that Littleton's making their way towards this, is involving the town departments that are going to be using their building on a day-to-day basis as early as possible.
Mhm.
What we found in the library is, like in most projects, after the contractor's done, we do a little bit of training that gets filmed on an iPhone, and they throw you the keys and say, it's all yours from here. And, there's giant binders of operation and maintenance manuals that sometimes are hard to digest, and, getting them engaged early, understanding what to do with their building, the amount of maintenance that's going to come with that building. And then also, I would think once the designers are on board, is to do an inventory of the municipal buildings in town, and whether or not that there's some sort of, without being proprietary, but finding what kind of systems the other buildings have, making sure that every single building in town doesn't operate differently, and maybe can help whoever's operating the kind of doing a facilities for the town, getting his input. So.
Okay.
Yeah,
So, Wendy, Stacy, I'm glad you brought that up, and Brian, I think you said whoever's doing the facilities in town is a little bit tongue in cheek because we don't have anyone.
Right.
But I'd say about 4 years ago, the select board approved a
Facilities
facilities manager for the town, and that is the exact individual who would get involved in pre-construction and design activities to bring that kind of information to the fore. And that facilities manager was to be split between the school board and the town. And I've been advocating for it. I know that other people in the town have been advocating for it, and it's gone absolutely nowhere. So if you feel strongly about this, you might bring this up at another school board meeting.
Okay. That we just need kind of a facilities manager is still needed for the town.
For the town. It was approved. It was approved in the budget for 4 or 5 years ago.
Okay.
Maybe 4 years ago, and it's gone nowhere. So it would be very helpful for PMBC to have a facilities manager to interface with on the town's behalf. And that's all I'm going to say about that.
Steve, they discussed it at the selectmen's meeting the other night, and I thought they said they were going to look into hiring one.
Well, okay, that's good.
Daily
Because we
and
need
all
one.
short.
I mean, you look at the MBTA. I'm going to get on my soapbox here for a minute. You look at the MBTA and the deferred maintenance that has plagued that agency since the big dig because of lack of funds. We're in the same position in Littleton. Without a facilities manager and a plan for looking at all the needs assessments, we're going to be doing emergency repairs here and there, and it's just going to kill us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would add that I'd really commend the library staff, the maintenance staff with George and his staff, as well as the trustees, have really put a priority on understanding their building and trying to understand what the maintenance is going to be with the cycling throughout the year. And that's more than I can say for a lot of projects that we have with municipalities. So that's just one building though in town. So obviously that there's multiple other buildings that will need the same type of maintenance. But I did want to put out there that they're doing a good job trying to make sure that 5 years from now, they're not ripping things out because they haven't paid attention to it.
Right. Okay. Any other comments, questions on library?
That's it for me.
Okay, police station. At the last meeting, we said everything was closed out, everything was fine to go. The chief was complaining about I think a bowed window.
Correct. And I reached out to him and asked for a picture. I have yet to receive that. So I don't know if maybe there was some humidity in the room and maybe it has since gone down, but I have not, I've not received anything nor an update on it. So, from a contract standpoint on what the contractor was to do, I believe that work has been done and closed out. We've final paid, we have our O&Ms, we've wrapped everything up on that side. From a town financial standpoint, if there are some minor issues like a bowed window, it would be my suggestion to maybe get that taken care of before, the town closes this kind of portion of the project out. And, while there are still some contingency funds left over.
Well, we removed windows from the contract, so that's not even in the scope of work.
Correct. What they did do is they, in some areas, they were removing trim, they would remove jams, they would re-insulate, they would re-flash, and then reinstall as in kind.
Sounds
So-
more like it's trim that he's talking about than a window, because I think those are all fixed windows. No, they're not. No, they're not.
I think they're operable. Yeah.
Yes, they are.
Okay, so I'm going to take this off of the agenda for the next meeting unless there are anyone wants to keep it on here.
And if I hear from the chief, I will, I'll reach out to you directly, Steve, if something needs to come back on the agenda that we need to talk about.
Okay, very good.
Steve, why don't we leave it on for one more meeting until we find out what the chief's problem is?
Okay, we'll do that. Littleton High School roof. Brian's not on and Rich is in Ireland, so I don't have an ability to talk to him.
Brian Pasquale is on.
I am on, Steve. Yeah, sorry.
Oh, you are? Okay.
Yes, I joined. I don't have video because I'm just on the phone. I'm just coming back
Oh, great.
from a soccer practice. But anyway, yeah, so not much of an update on the ongoing roof project other than that the designer Russo Bar just owes us some fairly minor spec updates for the general conditions and Division 1 package of the Division 1 spec package of the bid package. Otherwise, that's pretty much ready to go. My only other concern, Steve, I don't know if you saw the email from Steve Mark earlier today.
I
If you want to get into that at all, but it seems like there's, potential for this project to grow and be, other areas of the roof are now becoming a concern. So, my thought is my thought was that we just,
the funding that was approved by the select board was for this specific area, so I'm not sure that including other areas, unless Steve can get approval, would be acceptable.
yeah, that was kind of my thought. And, it seems like if we do a full roof replacement, it'd far exceed those funds anyway. So my thinking is we're pretty close on this bid package. We proceed with this project as is. And then if there's not, if there's additional areas that need to be addressed, that's going to have to come later or come as part of a separate approval of funding.
Right. So I think I haven't seen Steve's email, but if there are other areas, that's going to probably involve an inspection, a report, just like we went through for this section.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I don't want to hold this part of it up for that. So I think we just proceed with this one as it's designed at this point.
I would agree with that.
Okay.
Any other comments or discussion?
Can I just ask, just from my own knowledge, from starting this project to where we are now, like how long did that take you guys? Like, what did that process look like that you obviously don't want to hold it up to do a whole roof? How long did that take?
I would say, Stacy, is probably realistically close to a year. I think they did the original study last fall.
Okay.
And then we had some procurement issues. We had to go out to bid for the full design package after the study was done.
Mhm.
And that was done in the springtime. And And then, you know, ultimately, once the design package was done, we kind of made the decision that we wouldn't be able to get the construction done before kids were back in school. So we kind of sat on it for a while. So I would say that the process has been a year to this point, but that doesn't necessarily mean it needs to be a year for the next one. That could be accelerated somewhat.
Well,
Okay.
you know, it's dependent on the school board going to town meeting with a
Yes.
scope of work and a budget. So actually, Steve Mark had done that probably 4 or 5 months prior to us even getting the inspection
Right.
contractor on board. So you might be talking about a year and a half, depending
Yeah,
on depending on when you go to a town meeting.
Okay, so school board kind of has to initiate the project, and then from there, it will start the process of getting approvals and funding. Is that how it works?
Yes.
Okay.
Steve, wasn't funding back a couple of years ago on this?
Yeah, that's why I'm saying it's been a while.
Yeah,
So as soon as we got the, I think it was $800,000. As soon as we got that approved, Brian started going out to these different design firms and getting proposals. We selected a design firm. They came in with a design, and then they did a bid package, and then we put it out for bid, and you know, it just takes a while.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh,
Thank-
actually, we haven't put it out for bid. We're waiting until probably what, December, Brian?
Yeah, sometime before the new year to go out to bid. But and we also had a study phase on this one. We had an initial, you know, smaller package that was basically an inspection and study phase to propose some solutions, and then we went out to bid for a designer.
Right.
So
Okay. Thank you. That's
So
really, I'm still just trying to learn kind of what these processes are. So I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Pretty. It's not short.
Yeah. I appreciate that.
Okay. Any other questions on the high school roof? We'll move over to the senior center. Brian?
Yep, we're making some good progress with our senior center and our CM at risk selection. As you know, that's the delivery method that we're going to be using for this project. We had our RFQ deadline, the beginning of, I believe it was the very end of 2 weeks ago, that Friday. We received 4 firms put in for the RFQ, put in their statement of qualifications. We have distributed that to the selection committee. Consists of Bob, myself, Liz, the senior center director, as well as Anthony, and as well as one representative from LLB. Steve, I know you did ask me about that. That is common. We have had a representative from the designer on this, and that's kind of the standard. If you look on chapter 149A, the kind of the strategy that goes with the selection committee on this.
Yeah,
this
thanks for that. I didn't remember.
Yep. So I've received almost all of those. I know, Bob, you're almost done. We can probably have a call tomorrow just to wrap those up. I have some Vertex specific things like references that I'm checking in the background to make sure that these firms can proceed into the next round. And the next round consists of us issuing an RFP. So now that we have their statement of qualifications, and we deem them that they're qualified in order to quote unquote bid on this project, we will send out an RFP to the 4 firms, and then in turn they will submit to us a technical proposal and a price proposal on how they're going to approach this job. And what comes with that is, based on the number of firms that we had response, I feel as though however many that we pre-qualify, we will probably do interviews with all of them, as it gives an opportunity for the town and our selection committee to see the team that they're going to be bringing to the table. And it kind of, you can see the personalities and you can see the way that they work and the way that they're going to handle this project. So I foresee few more weeks of the RFP process. We'll have the interviews after that. And the hope is that we have a CM contract working through the town and legal department towards the middle of next month. And then at that point, they will be jumping right in to the design phase with LLB, our designer. At that point, they will be well into and past design development phase and starting to work into their construction documents. And that's really where the CM at risk delivery method can shine. They can start really using their strategies, their experiences, and their expertise on selection of materials, on how this job is going to be phased, and some real major design points that can help save some money. So we're still in we're on track right now with our current schedule. Like I said, we're in design development. Kirby, you sent me an email last week regarding some of the requirements. I have sent that. We have a meeting with them tomorrow. We'll go over if they have any questions on that as they kind of move further into discussion of design. I think we're going to have more discussions with all town departments as kind of, now that we've implemented some of the requests that are in, now everyone can take another fresh look at it and see where we're at this point. But I think we're getting really positive feedback on the design such far. Bob, I don't know if I don't want to speak for you. I think people have seemed to be pretty excited. Liz, I know is a big proponent of the design and really likes what she's seeing so far. And
Yep, the board voted last night to go forward with the new tennis courts and pickleball courts on the Great Road property,
okay.
Cooper Farm.
That's great news. As we're scheduling right now with our schedule, if everything continues as is, we'll probably begin construction the beginning of the summer, next summer. So it's a fast track. We're moving fast. But I know that those tennis courts were important to a lot of people, so I'm glad to hear that.
Brian, did you get my email that I sent you earlier today?
Yeah, you didn't attach anything, right?
No.
Yeah, so if you want to call me tomorrow, we can go over. I know where some of your questions are coming from. I think some of those are the input that I have to put onto your evaluation, that the work that I need to do. So
Okay.
Yep.
So Brian, I think I heard you say that you might shortlist all 4 of them.
If they qualify.
If they qualify, right?
Yep.
Okay.
So I've distributed an evaluation sheet that kind of breaks down how we grade them and what the minimum requirements are in order for them to grade. So a lot of them is their project experience, their project team, their financial backing at this point, their DCAM ratings, their experience, their terminations on jobs, their safety records on jobs, and then their references is a big point as well. So I sometimes look at their references. I also know other jobs that they've worked on, and I'll call people that maybe they're not putting down as the reference to kind of get an accurate description on how the project was, because we all know that you don't want to put bad references down. So I try to be as accurate as we can and find out really, if they're going to be a good fit for Littleton.
Right. I'm chairman of selection committee at work, and we had 7 submittals, and we shortlisted 2 based on scoring.
Yep.
So I know that the committee's time is valuable. If 1 or 2 of them just don't seem to make the grade, I think we consider the committee's time.
Completely agree. Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, and I also, to be fair, I don't want to waste the CM's time to prepare an interview and come in and knowing that they were, they were not going to make the grade anyway. So
exactly right.
There's a few firms that I'm very familiar with. I don't think there's going to be an issue with them at least qualifying. But the others will make sure that they at least hit the bar that we're asking for before we proceed.
There's one of them we're really familiar with.
I haven't even looked at them. Can you tell me who the 4 firms are?
Yes, we have Commodore, who built the library across the street. We have Colantonio, who is a very comparable competition to Commodore.
Yeah, they bid on the library.
I'm sorry?
They looked at the library too.
That's correct. And they just, they put in, they interviewed for the CM at the job that I'm working at in Westboro at their library. Very impressive interview. I don't foresee them, unless I haven't finished my evaluation of them, I don't foresee them having an issue moving on to the next round. Castagna Construction, who did the fire station, has also submitted a package. They don't have as much experience with 149A, but they've been, in the past few years, they've begin, expanding their portfolio in that. And then GVW, who I've worked with them on a few other projects. They have not been with CM at risk. I have to dive in a little bit more into their project experience on whether or not they're going to qualify for this job.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
Thank you.
That kind of actually, something that I've been talking about, with consistent systems. So do we often try to reach out or get bids from firms that have already done buildings in the town or are familiar with the other systems that we're already kind of using? From
a system standpoint, I'll answer that kind of in two different ways. The way that we solicit firms is through the public process, and we have to advertise it. It has to go into central register, and we have to give the opportunity to everybody in the state to submit their statement of qualifications. As it comes to the systems inside the building, there's a similar process where we can't put anything specific. Certain systems we can't put specifically what we want in there because we need to have a fair bidding process and procurement process that goes through it. So we're not able to put anything proprietary in the spec. But sometimes we can work with the designer in order to cater the specs that we want, and then have the contractor try to meet those specs based upon what we want them, probably based upon the systems that we have in other buildings that we're looking for.
Okay. All right, great. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Hey, Mr. Brian,
Sir.
quick question for you, or a comment. There was a list of questions that came back, I think, from the design team.
Yep.
On some of the things that we had talked about. The responses were made. Don't know whether my boss, Mark Crory, has met with Liz to discuss those items, but there has been movement. Basically, the day we got them, we responded.
Cool.
So I'm not certain where that process is, Brian, if you want to
Yeah.
check with Liz.
No problem. I meet with the team tomorrow, so I'll bring that up as one of the action items on where they stand with that.
Yeah, because we basically jumped on it right away because we just want to, I know you're fast tracking this, and so we want to make certain we're in that process.
For sure. Thanks.
Thank you, sir.
Brian, is that meeting still set for tomorrow?
Tomorrow at 2, yes.
Yep.
And where is that meeting?
It's kind of a working group meeting that we're doing with the design team. At this point, I'm driving most of it because of the CM process, but that's virtual, and I can send you the link to it if you'd like.
I might be available at 2. Actually, no, I'm not. Okay, never mind.
We
Wishful
had you for
thinking.
a second.
Yeah, wishful thinking.
Brian,
Yeah.
I may need that link again. I've
No
had
problem.
a crash in the computer here.
Sending it right now.
Any other comments, questions on senior center? Okay, how about member input? Bob?
I'm all set, Steve.
Let's see, Stacy?
I do have one more question. Oh, this is my last question. Just because we have a school committee meeting on tomorrow, are there any updates that I can share about the Shaker Lane feasibility? I think the last meeting we had, I think there are things are kind of held up because Rich is transitioning out. Is that kind of where that is right now, or do I really have any updates?
I think maybe talk to Steve Mark. I had intended to reach out to him today, and I didn't have time to make that call.
Okay.
I know that Rich had sent Steve a number of, probably a dozen documents for this update for the Shaker Lane. because I think we really want to go out to bid for an OPM no later than October. So I was hoping Steve was going to join us tonight, but apparently was unable to. So I think just talk to Steve.
All right, thank you.
Bartlett, anything?
Only that the high school administration would like to get their wastebaskets back because they're all in the hallway and classrooms catching drips from the roof.
Okay, so noted. Mike?
Okay.
Oh, I just had a quick question on the Shaker Lane feasibility. I'm not sure. I was sworn in a few weeks ago. I'm not sure if there have been any meetings yet on that one.
No, there haven't.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I had to find that out 2 weeks ago too. I just had to call in and say, have we had any meetings yet? But no, nothing's been
Okay.
scheduled. Yeah.
Anything else, Mike?
No, I'm good.
Okay, Brian?
I'm all set. Thank you, Steve.
And I'm all set. Is there a
Steve, one quick question.
yeah.
Do we have money for this Shaker Lane? Has any money been appropriated to do anything there?
That's a good question. I don't remember. There's got to be something if we're going to go out for a C or a OPM. But
I don't remember seeing anything on the town warrant for money for Shaker Lane.
I'll make a note and reach out to Steve, because that would have been something Steve would have done.
All right, that's it. Motion to adjourn.
All
Is there a
right, so
second?
moved. So moved. Second.
Moving and seconding at the same time. I like it. Okay, Bob,
Bob Romley, yes.
Stacy,
ACS.
Bartlett, you've already moved and seconded. Mike
Mike Scaduto, yes.
and Brian
Brian Pasquale, yes.
and Steve Moore, yes. Thanks for your time tonight, and we'll see you September 28th.
This is almost a Joe meeting.